great strides from 1 to 12 from Saturday. It was fun to be a part of last Saturday. We did a lot of really good things on both sides of the ball, and we had minimal people in some of the positional departments. So we being able to get to 60, almost 65 plays with a few positions and with some efficiency and some productivity was good. So we'll be in uppers today, and then we'll take them off and be in helmets on Thursday, prepping for Friday's game, which will be offense versus defense. And so we'll kind of have some house rules just because we don't have enough spots at certain positions to be able to draft teams. So that's my ultimate goal at some point, get back to be able to draft a team before I get laid to rest here as head coach, to be able to get at least a 2 or 3 deep, or in your case, I think, or maybe it was somebody else mentioned a 4 deep. Like, having 2 deep would be nice to be able to split those guys up. But it bodes for a little bit more competition during Red White Week instead of just OD when mixing the teams up. But we're not able to do that this year, so we'll try to get there next year.
And talk about that kind of healthy competition with the guys. And I know, obviously, after last practice, you talking to some, and how have they kind of replied out of that over the last couple of days and today, of sort of still having that fire and intensity, but knowing kind of where to put it?
Well, it's a good way to put it. We just got out of the team room. I try to be minimal while addressing those guys right after practice. They're kind of checked out. The teacher in me says, okay, they're not going to listen to any big long message after. Just be to the point and get off, and they catch them in the team meeting. We talked about some guys don't want to get to the edge. Some guys look over the edge too often. But we can all push ourselves to get to the edge. But you can't do anything if you fall over the edge. We need you. We need everybody. So playing the game with emotion is one thing. Playing the game emotional is two totally separate entities with the same root word. And I just there's a level of when you're supposed to cry, laugh, and when you're supposed to laugh, cry. Going the opposite. Swimming upstream at times sometimes helps. And so getting there, it's better that we pull back than ramp them up, because the game is, like I said, emotional, physical. You're out here with your brothers for 15, and it seems like you're going against the same guy every single day. But it's only going to get heated from a temperature-wise and everyday-wise in August. So we got to be prepared to be able to kind of put the personal agendas aside and work on the team agenda at hand.
Spring practice goes so quick, Coach, but is there do you get enough time with these guys to kind of figure out if they do have an identity or a culture yet, or is that more of like a fall camp, summer camp thing? I just kind of wonder.
Yeah, I think each team is its own, especially nowadays. So you reflect and review from the last fall, when you're talking about December, and then you really, in my opinion, you really flip, not even the script, you get into a new book, not even a new chapter in January, and you don't even have all the pages yet because all the people aren't here. So you're building your team from January through June until you get everyone here with all the nuances and the variables. And so you kind of pull what you felt was good from last year. You talk to the older guys in the room and the more experienced guys, what worked, what didn't work, what did you feel going forward with the guys we have? Because if you just run it back, then you're just running it back. I mean, there's a level of laziness to that what do they say about insanity? Trying things over and over and expecting different results. I mean, at some point you gotta have a foundation, which we have. Build on the foundation, but we got to put different rooms on the foundation. It's not going to be the same room every single year. So depending on who we have, the coach we have in place, some of that didn't take place till a month ago. Those guys got here right before spring camp started. So it's one of those pieces where we're continuing to evolve and adapt with our players, but our identity is going to be uberly joyful players that are competitive in all areas, not just on the football field, but in life in general. So if we can continue to push the envelope in that, create some of the fun, which you have to have a goal. You got to find fun. So it's not as fun as 16 to 18. It's a different animal now when you're doing it for non-recreational purposes. So it's some of those things that you're melding first year guys and fifth year guys and trying to find out what that looks like and see how it plays out in the fall.
What do you need to see from this team in the spring game on Friday?
I just say clean. I think we've started to, I would say, reduce the turnovers on offense. Obviously, one play by Stephen Lee was a great play on 4th down last week. But just reduce those, make them work for their takeaways on defense. But just some cleanliness, which I felt like we really did a good job last week, where it flowed 6 play drives, 8 play drives, 10 play drives, stops on defense, field goals, punts. It was kind of a little bit of everything because if it's all one-sided, I don't know what you get out of that. So we'll see how these guys play. The lights aren't as bright as they will be in fall. So you get a little taste of what they're going to do in front of some fans in a situation where you put the ball down to play. But we're really not going to know some of these guys what they're all about or what their journey is going to become until August 29th and beyond. I mean, practice is practice. Some guys all of a sudden show up differently when they're actually keeping score. So I'm excited to be part of the journey, but a bunch of guys have taken huge strides this spring.
Last question for me. What is the position groups that's maybe came along the farthest in just, 12 practices?
I try to, when you ask individuals or positions, it's a little bit hard through 12. 2 of them are in helmets, so we've really only had 10. I would say probably the steadiest group of all has probably been the guys up front. Those guys are going to lean on. Those are where our seniors lie on defense. But I would say probably the safety position. Some of those young guys have stepped up. Bjorn and Marcus, they've stepped up. Bryce Smith obviously hasn't been available for the last 6 or 8 practices, so they've kind of stepped up. Mikel's done a nice job being an old guy. I think they've really stepped up from top to bottom. And really performed really well and stood out in spring. But there hasn't been the bright spot is there's not been too many positions that have stepped back. Most of them have stepped forward, so that's been good when you're talking about 18-year-olds in the first spring, and in Mikel's case, 25-year-olds in their 24th spring.
Yeah, even Mikel was talking to us about it. 7th year going in and his leadership and what he brings. I mean, talk about that, having players like that still, because obviously with the way that NCAA is looking, it could be that we're shortening that, and having those kind of kids that are that old still is still a bit of a rarity in college football.
Yeah, I mean, some people have asked, like, what would it have been like when you were 18 having a 25-year-old in the locker room? And it's like, and then some guys say, well, it's kind of like an 11-year-old having an 18-year-old on the same team. Like, yes, numbers-wise, 7 years difference, but totally different animal. 18, 25 is not as big a difference, even though it's 7 years apart from an 11-year-old that barely knows how to write their name, and an 18-year-old, in high school. It is what it is. The rules are the rules. The ability for a guy to come back to play, especially when it got taken away from him in the first game, in the first quarter of the first game, that's a tough way to walk. But it's not an exact science either. It's not cut and dry. Every situation is its own, and so we'll see how it plays out as we go forward and how this thing unfolds. But hopefully there becomes some more clarity so that everybody understands what the guardrails are. They're not moving the goalposts and all that stuff. But in Mikel's case, selfishly, I love the fact that he's back. Hell of a kid, hell of a leader. He's not a loud individual. He's a lead by example guy, and he's a beneficiary to us.